G'day guys, Sim here, and welcome to my first ever league racing video on F1 2020. Now, this is from a stream that I did last Sunday of a practice race around Singapore for AFR Tier 2 Season 5. We had a very competitive field, lots of fast, clean drivers, a couple of reserves filling in for people that unfortunately couldn't quite make it, but overall some really fast, clean racing happened, and it was definitely a lot of fun. So going into quali, thankfully a dry qualifying and a dry race, and my plan here was for a medium to hard strategy in the race, but unfortunately the tyre allocation on 2020 doesn't give you a set of hard tyres in qualifying to do a couple of practice laps before doing your final lap on the mediums. So what I decided to do was head out on softs in a lower fuel mix and just see how we go, so we can save the medium tyres for our last lap on full max fuel, full ERS, and just do our best lap on those tyres so that we can do that easy one stop to the finish. But unfortunately that's not quite how it worked out. So as we head out now on our first lap, setting a decent lap, not the best lap we could have, we certainly missed the apex on turn 1. But we're definitely starting to hit our markers as we go through the middle sector here, and definitely setting up quite a decent lap. Unfortunately missing the apex there, but getting on the power nice and early, activating DRS, but unfortunately you'll see ahead, we are closing in on a couple of cars in front. Farmer Dingo in front, been part of the league a lot longer than I have, and unfortunately just catching up to him into the third sector, which is very dependent on the aerodynamics of the car, and we're just picking up a tiny bit of dirty air. And as you'll see, we just miss the apex here, then miss the corner of the next apex, get on the power a little bit too early, and we're around. Red wing, lap done, aborted, and off back into the pits we go. So next lap, much better through the through the final sector here. No car in front, no dirty air, which is very useful. And coming around, nicely hitting these apexes, and this time not missing the apex of this corner, nicely getting the apex of the second to last corner, and coming through the final corner, just clipping the apex there, and coming through to finish, I think, in third place for now. So not a horrendous lap, but definitely not the best we could do. So, having said that, we finally decide to go out on the medium tyres, and hopefully set our fastest lap and get us in a decent position for the start of the race, and on the ideal strategy for the entire race. But like I said, unfortunately that's not quite what happens. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to stay on board for the entirety of this lap as we head out. So coming around now to start that lap, we hit the go through the final corner a little bit wide, which compromises us slightly, but that full fuel mix already has us in the green. So nailing or going a bit wide through the apex of turn 1, nicely on the power out of turn 3, through turn 4, and braking nicely for turn 5, hitting the apex, accelerating nicely in 4th gear, a little bit of wheel spin, but overall not too bad. Coming up through the first sector, and we go and set a purple first sector. Lovely first sector, nicely hitting the apex there, braking nicely into 2nd gear, up to short shifting to 3rd, 4th, 5th gear, down to 3rd, missing the apex slightly, up to 4th, 5th, 6th gear now, 7th, and then down to 4th gear, hitting the apex, down to 3rd again, nicely hitting the apex, short shifting to 4th, 5th gear, all the way through to the hairpin, and down to 2nd gear, 3rd, and unfortunately just getting on the power a little too early, and unfortunately wrecking our wing with no more time to set another lap. And you'll probably hear in a sec, my frustration really got the better of me. Yeah, I really wasn't happy to be starting on the soft compound tyres. It wasn't going to be good for me. Basically setting yourself up for a guaranteed 2-stop. And to make matters even worse, we see, looking at the results of qualifying, we're actually down in P5, which is really actually quite disappointing for me. But anyway, coming around for the start of the race, looking hopefully just to get a nice clean start, clean off the line, maybe make up a few positions, knowing that we now are pretty much locked into a 2-stop, as the softs won't go far enough for the hards to be worth going to the end. And just patiently waiting for everyone to ready up on the grid, and just trying to calm down. Still not happy with my lap. So nearly 5 red lights, and we get quite possibly my worst start on this game to date. Already down a few positions by the time we get to turn 1. Squeezed out of it by Pondon. You should check out his channel on Twitch too, by the way. Really good streamer, do recommend. And just get a little tap there as well. So we're already down to 9th place. And before the end of Sector 1, we've dropped down from 5th place on the start to now 10th place. Which, yeah, at this point, like, you'll hear me there, I was not particularly impressed with myself. But we're still optimistic. We go for the move, and we're just not quite far enough. Up, get squeezed out, and that's our first warning on the first lap already. So at this point, the race was really not looking good. But I just kept telling myself, you know, keep calm. There's still another 31 laps to go. Plenty of time still to be made up. But we just had to see where it led us. So following through now with the Alfa Romeo. Trying to keep nice and close. Looking for any opportunity to get past. Trying to get through there. I think we get a little tap through there from the car behind and Mule in the Red Bull. But now just in the slipstream of the Alpha in front, we're just trying to keep close, looking for any opportunity to get past. Unfortunately, though, there's nothing really coming to us, and he's actually getting away a bit, but he makes contact with Jacob Meister in the Alpha Tauri in front and loses a little bit of his front end plate, I believe. So now he's like losing a little bit of ground to the cars in front, struggling to hit the apexes. And as you'll see through here, he just gets a little bit wide on exit and clatters the wall there and forces him into the pits. And unfortunately that damage forces him to understeer into the pit wall and crashing out of the race. And unfortunately that brings out the first safety car of this race. So at this point I was starting to think, okay, what can I do about that? What sort of strategy options have we got? We don't want to be on these soft tyres, and I actually decided that, you know, get this soft stint out of the way now, head on to the medium compound tyres, and then we've got, I think, two sets of mediums will easily take us to the end of the Grand Prix. So we box in. Unfortunately, our teammate, who's Charlie, whose name in-game is Wish I Was Fast, also decided to box this lap onto the hards, so we do get a little bit of a double stack, but we also managed to jump Jacob Meister and a few other cars in the pits. Unfortunately, just getting my release a little bit wrong here. But we do at least gain some position out of this pit stop, thankfully. So I think now jumping ahead to the safety car restart, and we're just once again looking to get a nice clean run, and once again we bottle it. We are miles back before the last corner, but Big Pig unfortunately does not get a good run out of the final corner, and we are right on the back of him into turn 1, looking for an opportunity, but there's nothing there to go for. We're just sitting behind through turns 2 and 3, looking for a good exit, which we actually do get. And we're right behind, unfortunately, Smitty spinning there. So it's another position gained. And we are right up behind Big Pig, going up the inside here, looking for the overtake at the end of the straight, and we are already clear by the time we get there using overtake and Rich, and through into P12 now chasing after Scarsouls in P11. I believe he's actually disconnected by this point. Yes, he has. Sorry, I'm just looking at my small little preview window here. But looking to gain as much time as possible here. Get past as quickly as possible, avoid the dirty air of the ghosted car, and then get after CK80 and the Racing Point. Losing the back end there a little bit, so still, you know, not quite settled into this race, but we're still looking to gain as many positions as possible, as quickly as possible, and really chase down our teammate in Charlie. So closing in on CK80 again here. We still at this point have so much extra fuel in the car as well due to that safety car. So we're really just flicking it into Rich and just trying to gain as much time on the straights as possible. So Coming through the third sector now. We just miss that apex and lose a little bit of time there. But really gain it back through these couple of corners here as Pondon sets the fastest lap, sorry. And we get a really good run through this final corner here. Trying to close up on CK80, but this battle in front is really pulling him away from us a little bit. As we gain so much time in the braking zone. So all of this battling in front of us now, though, is starting to hold us up. We evidently have so much more pace than the guys in front here, but we just can't quite find a way through. I think we go for... I think the car up in front, I think in Psycho in the freshly redesigned black Mercedes has wing damage. So that is one position we'll at least gain through this turn here. But still stuck behind CK80 Surplus, and I believe Farmer Dingo still in front of us. So then skipping ahead a bit more, we get another track limits warning there. So that's now 2 warnings that we have after us, only one more, and then we get a 3-second time penalty. So we go through here now, looking to get as close as possible. And I believe, yes, another safety car, this time caused by... I believe the other Ferrari just messing up the braking point into the underpass section there. And here we decide to stay out, which possibly wasn't the best decision, but at the time I was thinking, okay, it's only lap 7, we want to continue on as far as we can. So here back on the restart, once again trying to get as good a start as possible. I don't think my tyres were quite up to temperature though. But we actually get a decent start, and Surplus goes out wide, but unfortunately we have to back that off, as we would have overtaken him before the start-finish line and gotten an illegal overtake if we had have gone past. But showing that our pace is at least somewhat decent. So coming through, get a nice run out of turn 3, not perfect, losing a little bit of ground, but... missing the apex there, but Surplus gets a horrendous run through that corner, and we, using overtake and rich revs, just close up onto the back of him effortlessly and dive it up the inside, gaining another position up to 5th place now. So back to where we started on the grid, which is, a lot better than what I was expecting from after the start of the race. But now closing in on Nut, I believe. No, skipping ahead again, same corner, the final corner. As Charlie then sets the fastest lap, and we are closing in on Nut very quickly. Now having DRS on this lap. So getting a nice clean run through turn 3 here, and a nice exit again, closing up even more, and hopefully getting a nice run out of turn 5 here for the DRS straight. Using DRS, rich mix, and overtake, we go round to get the inside for the next corner, I believe, yes, and dive it nice and cleanly up the inside to take now P4. Now just chasing down Finner in the other racing point, and our teammate is only just further in front as well. That also gave us the fastest first sector of the race so far, which was a bit of extra confidence for my race pace as well. But you can see now we just tapped the wall there, and I'm looking for damage, and thankfully we get away with it. I think I actually asked Nut behind if he saw any carbon fibre fly off my car at all, but thankfully we got away with no damage whatsoever, and we're free to continue this race. So very, very lucky there. But now still chasing down Finner in front. I think we're sticking on for the entirety of this lap by the looks of it. Yeah. So I think this is my fastest lap of the race up to this point, as we close in massively on Finner through that tight section under the underpass, and I think even more so through these final couple of corners. Really up, well within DRS range, and getting a beautiful run through the final corner onto the front straight, as unfortunately Pondon has spun out on the main straight there from the lead, gifting the lead to our teammate. So Finner now under pressure from us as we go way too deep through turn 3 and lose a lot of momentum, but thankfully not enough to be out of DRS range. And coming through this corner now, we get an insane run, and once again DRS, rich mix, and overtake. We go the same spot once again, and already in front by the time we get to the braking zone. So a relatively easy overtake. But now chasing down our teammate who is on the hard compound tyres and going to the end of this race whilst we're on the mediums and still having to pit again. We can see the gap is about 3.1 seconds, I believe. And closing in now. Now 3.3 seconds, so losing a bit of ground through this sector. But I think on this exit here, we gain a whole 3/10 just on the apex of that corner. And plenty of ground up this straight, just with the traction of the medium compound tyres. So gaining a lot of time. But also kind of thinking, you know, are we actually going to catch him? Because we are on the medium compound tyres, forced to pit again. Whereas he can go to the end of the race now, like pitting onto those hard compound tyres. He's got no issues. But coming around, we're still catching. Now within 3 seconds. As we come around this corner, you'll see yellow flags. And our teammate has spun off the curb, unfortunately. Not ending their race, but just unfortunately losing them the lead as we set now another fastest lap of the race as we go through. And just continuing on. Now looking to just set as consistent laps as possible, increase our lead as we unfortunately get our third warning and our first penalty of this race. But just looking to set consistent laps and get that gap as a safety car now is called. So now we decide finally with lap 13, so plenty of laps still to go, we decide to come in and box for the hard compound tyres, get any issue of having to stop again completely out of the way, unless there's a late safety car, and we think that it's a better option to jump on the softs, we decide to jump on the hards just to get us to the end of this race. And thankfully we don't have any mistakes with this stop. But crucially, and this will be a little bit unfortunate for the rest of our race, is we come out behind 2 AI cars, both of people that unfortunately disconnected. And that will be crucial as we sort of muff the pit exit a little bit. Because as we come out for the next safety car restart, the AI are terrible for accelerating off safety car restarts. They often don't recognise the cars in front have taken off. So here, we go for the overtake with the acceleration and we just can't get it with the cars because it's counted as an illegal. So we lose plenty of time there. And unfortunately, come under pressure from Finna and Psycho behind and just run out way too wide and unfortunately lose the position here to Finna. So now back down to 7th place, unfortunately. And with only another 15 laps to go in this race, that is a lot of ground for us to make up if we have any hopes of winning this race, unfortunately. So now just trying to stay in touch of Finna, but unfortunately just seemingly losing more and more ground as we go along. Just not quite able to keep pace, unfortunately. And at this point I was starting to think, well, you know, was it a good decision to go onto these hards, or was it maybe a better decision to jump on the mediums and try and stretch them to the end? Like, because the ground I seem to be losing at the moment, although it doesn't really seem like that much, it was sort of playing in my head a little bit, like, do I actually have the pace for this race? But skipping ahead a bit to lap 17, we get past both of these AI cars, thankfully, and still charging to try and catch back up to Finna. We come around the corner to see, unfortunately, our teammate has spun again. I think this pretty much ending their chances at the race. But I was thinking, okay, that's put us up to 4th place now. There's still a chance for us in this race. We've still got an opportunity. So I think I flicked it up to Rich, and I was thinking, as we have a little bit of a back end loss, alright, time to actually push and try and gain as many positions as possible and just see how we go at the end. So here we are, we're really nailing these apexes absolutely perfectly, on the power nice and easy, as another a virtual safety car comes out. So at this point I think I was about sick of safety cars and stuff. I think you might hear in the chat maybe. Annoying at this point. Yeah, I'd just say it's a little bit annoying. So we're going to speed this up a bit. Just because, you know, I can only skip ahead so many times. But you'll see, as we get towards the restart, we're just above the delta as it says virtual safety car ending, so we were so close to a drive-through penalty. And as you'll see, as the safety car ends, you'll see ahead that Finner has got a massive lead against us, so obviously gained time there. And all of a sudden he's stopped, so unfortunately he's been caught out there with speeding under virtual safety car, and that's been enough to disqualify him from the Grand Prix. So now I was thinking, okay, third place, I'm the fastest car on the track so far, with a 3.3 second gap ahead to Newell and Trin just in front. You know, this is possible. We have over 10 laps still till the end of this race. We have ample time to catch up and battle and potentially get past. So, you know, hopefully we can just see how well we can do. And already we've gained 5/10 on Newell in that first half of the lap. So really you can see the pace is absolutely insane right now. But pace in a race is one thing. It's another thing entirely to try and get past. So as we're closing in, now the gap 2.6 seconds. Remember, it started at 3.3 at the start of this lap. We are absolutely flying. A purple middle sector, green first, just flying on this lap, doing our best to catch up. Now 2.1 seconds. Absolutely insane pace from us on this lap alone. Closing in, now less than 2 seconds. Nailing these apexes through here. In third gear, now short shifting to fourth, back down to third for these final third last and second last corners. Nice and wide there. Sixth gear, holding it in sixth for the final corner. Now 1.7 second gap. That is the fastest lap of the Grand Prix so far, a 40.5 on basically fresh hards. So really closing in now, almost into DRS range, 1.5 seconds. But I think in a sec we're going to skip ahead again, because I think it takes us about a lap to catch the rest of that gap, just starting to get into dirty air. But here we go. So we're right up behind, coming into the final corner, and Newell doesn't get a good run through there. So we get DRS, rich mix, and overtake, and we really close up through that front straight there. Nice and close up to the back of him through this section of corners, and a brilliant exit through turn 3. So we are now right behind. He goes defensive. So we get a lovely run through here onto this next DRS straight. Rich mix, overtake, DRS. And really, in this situation, Newell didn't seem to stand much chance. I think he may have been out of ERS trying to attack Trin. He holds it around the outside and we have to leave the space. But we managed to get him round the outside of the next corner. A beautiful move. And now we just got Trin in front, and then we are in the lead of this Grand Prix. So now chasing him down, currently a 1 second gap. Looking to nail more and more of these corners. Perfectly apexing that corner in fourth gear down to third, I believe. Short shifting to fourth, fifth, and then holding fifth through this section over the bridge. Braking late into second gear for the apex. Short shifting to third, DRS. I think rich mix and overtake, trying to gain as much time as possible. Braking late into third gear, holding third on the apex and short shifting to fourth gear. Through fifth, sixth, down to fourth, third gear even. Holding third through this section of corners, right up to the back of him now, less than half a second gap, and Trin just brakes a little too late and hits the wall on the outside of that corner there, and unfortunately gifts us the lead. Really unfortunate for him. He was showing incredible pace, and just that one mistake probably cost us a really good battle, but we go on now, and looking behind, we have surplus on the mediums, and I think at this point I was a little concerned about his pace, but thankfully we were consistent enough, and now on lap 26, we've built that lead out to about a 5.2 second gap, and, you know, slowly sort of starting to relax a little bit, sort of thinking, you know, maybe this is probably in the back, but we get a reminder here on the exit of this corner, you know, as we lose the back end and just save it without hitting the wall there. A massive reminder not to get content with where we are and, you know, bottle it or something. But as you'll see, our caution and whatever sort of just starts to run out a bit as coming on to the second last lap of this Grand Prix, I believe, if we skip ahead in a sec, we have to ask Jeff the question, because I believe Trin on now fresh mediums has set the most recent fastest lap of the Grand Prix. We have to ask him. So the fastest lap of the Grand Prix currently is a 39.5. So here we are, Rich Mix overtake on the final lap of the Grand Prix on worn hards, and we are going for it. Fourth gear, nailing the apex of turn 1, tight on turn 2, and second gear, a little too much on the curb, but getting a nice clean exit in third, fourth, fifth, sixth gear, holding it in up to seventh, down to fourth, and a nice clean exit onto the straight here, using overtake and Rich Mix again, seventh gear, eighth gear even, and absolutely flying on this straight to set a purple first sector, down to third gear, short shifting to fourth, I believe, to fifth, down to second gear here for this tight corner, third gear for a nice clean exit, fourth gear, fifth gear, down to third, missing that apex but still getting a nice run out of the corner, fourth, fifth, using ERS, sixth gear, seventh gear, down to fourth again, and just absolutely nailing these apexes, down to third, short shifting to fourth, fifth, and I think holding it in fifth, and then braking late and down to second gear, just missing that apex, but once again getting a decent exit out of the corner. Rich Mix and overtake once again, setting a green middle sector, and 4/10 up on our current best lap. So getting another nice exit out of there, fifth gear, sixth gear, down to third, I believe, slightly missing that apex, compromising us through here. Up to fifth gear, and then down to third, nailing that apex. Nailing this apex as well, up to fourth, back down to third for these two penultimate corners. Fourth gear, fifth gear, sixth gear, a little bit of overtake, holding it in sixth gear, nailing that apex, and taking the win, but unfortunately not quite managing fastest lap. I believe we were about 4/10 off that lap, but really a good way to get ready for the season with a win in a pre-season race, especially around Singapore, a really demanding track, and especially with so much going on, so many safety cars, so much unpredictability in the strategy, and just the pace of some of the guys in the lobby too. It was just an absolutely insane race. And now we'll have to get keen for the first race of the season at Australia this Sunday. So if you want to see that, I will be streaming that from 8:30 PM Australian Eastern Standard Time, and hopefully you can tune in and we'll have a good time.